Thank you for listening to the Speaking with Confidence podcast. Give us a review to tell everyone why you love the podcast. You can also download, like, and share the podcast with friends. Be sure to visit formingforpublicspeaking.com and sign up for Forming for Public Speaking course. It's a step-by-step system to help you become the confident and powerful speaker you've always wanted to be. Welcome to Speaking with Confidence, the podcast dedicated to helping you unlock the power of effective public speaking. I'm Tim Newman, a recovering college professor turned communication coach. I'm thrilled to help you become a powerful communicator. I want to thank each and every one of you for your support. It truly means the world to me. Please visit timnewmanspeaks.com to get your free ebook, The Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers and How to Overcome Them. Today's guest is Greg Wright, but we'll just call him G. G is a dynamic public speaking coach with over 25 years in the music industry. As a driving force behind Rockstar Speakers Coaching, G shows coaches, visionaries, and thought leaders how to tune into your rockstar frequency and become a rock star on stage, podcast, and on camera. G, welcome to the show, bud.
Thanks, Tim. This is great. I'm excited.
I am too. We spoke a couple weeks ago, and you were telling all kinds of stories, and I love it. I love listening to stories from professionals who have such passion for their careers and the things that they do, and that really resonated with me because everybody knows rock stars, right? Everybody wants to be a rock star. Everybody wants to live the rock star life and the glam life and all those types of things, and you actually did it.
Yeah.
But you started your career at 16. Which to me, again, I love that. You started early. You started at 16 as a radio DJ.
Yes.
Talk about that and how that boosted, your confidence with some of the other things that were going on in your life at the time.
Yeah. So ever since I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a radio DJ. I had my Mickey Mouse record player, and I played my mom's Barry Manilow and Beatles records, probably scratched a few, right? And then at 16, I heard on the local top 40 station saying, "Hey, do you sound good on radio? Do your friends say you sound good on radio? Come out and audition." And it was just a part-time summer gig. And I auditioned. There was about 20 or 30 other people. I got the gig at 16. I was one of the youngest at the time, one of the youngest in the country with an FCC license. And but prior to that, I was always the small kid, the scrawny kid in school, and always got picked on, and nicknames, and was always picked on by people. But something happened when I got that radio gig because, well, I became an instant local celebrity overnight. My first gig was dressing up as Elvis in the summer parade, and that's when I realized, Tim, the power of your voice and the power of the microphone. I'm sitting in the back of this Cadillac, right? And I'm in a whole Elvis get up and everything. And, they're like, "Let's go live to Elvis in the parade." So, first time on radio, live, whatever you say is live.
Right.
There's no retake. And I go, well, and really apologize in advance for the bad Elvis impersonation. But I was like, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. I would love a jelly donut. And instantly, people are running out of Dunkin' Donuts with boxes of jelly donuts. And I'm like, I'm this 16-year-old kid, and I'm like, this is cool. If I want something, I ask for it on radio. And, I did that with pizza when I was there and stuff. But to move forward, so at 16, I thought I was going to go down that road of following in my hero, Casey Kasem, and Rick Dees and Shadow Stevens. And then it was...
So let's put that in context, because, I know Casey Kasem, I know Rick Dees, and if you look at today, you at 16 were like an influencer today, right? Seriously,
long before cell phones, yes,
long before cell phones.
Yes.
And that's how radio DJs were looked at. That's how television
Wolfman Jack.
television news was looked at. They were the people that everybody wanted to be like. Everybody gravitated to, especially when you did a live hit, just like you were just talking about, right? If you were in the radio business and you were doing a live hit somewhere, I mean, it didn't really matter where it was, at a restaurant, at a parade, at a ball game. I mean, people would flock there.
Yes. Became a celebrity. Everybody thought I was in college. They couldn't believe I was 16 at the time. People calling up, hey, yeah.
And so, keep going with your story, because I mean,
Yeah.
I love this, but I wanted to make sure that we put it in perspective for our audience to understand, because, let's just say somebody who's listening here is 20 years old. Okay. Yeah. They hear DJs now, but a DJ today is not a DJ back when we grew up.
It was, I mean, we're talking before cell phones, before the internet was really, I mean, AOL was the first. I don't even know if AOL was around back then. There was something about the power of just having your voice on radio. And yeah, people, I think a lot of it has to do with, there was only so many ways you could get information.
Yes.
You could hear music on radio, you could see the news on TV or read it in a newspaper, and whoever was presenting that, people, they became the personality. And like you said, radio DJs back then, I mean, back to Dick Clark on Bandstand, like he introduced new artists that are now like some of our favorite artists. And that's what the power of the radio DJ had back in the day, of going and saying, hey, I just heard this band last night. They're really cool guys. Here's their music. Check it out. If you like it, call me, tell me what you think. And they really were, that's really interesting you say, they really were the influencers, powerful influencers at the time, because people be like, wow, if this artist is on radio, they must be something really special, because it was so selective. And I was working in top 40 radio. So I was playing Madonna's records when they first came out. And I was, playing David Bowie records and saying David Bowie on air. And my PD's like, no, it's Bowie. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, It was just fun. It was like having a radio show was really, it was a lot of fun. And it gave me a lot of confidence. I mean, after that, I didn't care what people thought about what I said. I mean, like I didn't, the bullying stopped, everything, because I was on radio. It was so cool.
And that kind of leads into the next piece of the story, which, Stones, man, big Stones. And I'm not talking about the Rolling Stones. So, because tell the story about the Whitney Houston concert, and how that really changed everything. That was a second change of trajectory in your career.
Yeah. So from 16 to 18, when I was in high school, I was a radio DJ, and I was going to go to college to become a radio DJ. And my PD's like, no, just work here for 5 years and you'll have more experience on air experience. But I got an opportunity to go out mixing sound for a USO type group that was touring the US, going to veterans hospitals. And it was kind of like it was a USO type production. It was like Up With People. Do you remember Up With People?
Yeah, I do.
It was something like that. It was, 4 guys, 4 girls singing with wireless mics, doing dancing and stuff for our hospitalized veterans. And we went on tour, and I got to see all 48 of the 50 states, everywhere but Alaska and Hawaii. And I was like, okay, but my plan was I'll go do this tour. I'll see what it's like. And then I'll come back and I'll go work at the radio, and I'll go be like, Casey Kasem. But when we were out in Oklahoma or Kansas or Texas, I don't know where it was, I ended up sneaking into a Whitney Houston concert, because we were walking home from having dinner, and we saw One Night Only, Whitney Houston. And I told the group that I was with, I said, okay, I'll see you in there. I'll be at the front of house at the soundboard, and I'll wave to you. And I'm like 18 years old, Tim. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do it. I have no idea. I just know, and I teach this with my coaching, manifestation, visualization.
Right.
First, you have to see where you want to go and then take action. So I come around the corner, and I see this really big security guy standing at the backstage. And I'm like, okay, if I can get past him, I can get in the venue. I'm one step closer. So as I mentioned to you off camera, I came up with this story that I was there to interview the opening act, and that I was going to get effing fired if I didn't get in to interview them. So I talked my way, and I'm still this scrawny kid at the time, and I talked my way in, and then I met the tour manager, knocked on the door, and I said, "I'm not here to meet Whitney, sir. I'm here to meet you." He's like, "Well, that's good, kid, because you're probably not going to meet Whitney." And then he takes me to catering. I meet the front of house guy, and it was just taking that one step, that one action manifested into the sound guy going, the front house guy going, "Hey, where's your seat? Why don't you watch the show with me at front of house?" So, and that when I heard Whitney's vocals, he put the headphones on me and I heard Whitney's vocals in the headphones. That was that next fork in the road.
Right.
That was like, okay, I love radio. This is fun. But my God, I want to go on tour with these bands. And then that set up a 25-year journey of going out and touring with the biggest artists, arenas, stadiums, you name it. And I never got to meet Whitney, but I did get to work with her hero, Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. So that was kind of cool too, and many other artists throughout my career. Yeah,
that's just amazing. And
yeah.
kind of a little sidetrack here. So this is during the analog times.
Oh,
And-
yeah. There was no digital back then.
No digital. What was it like to transition from analog to digital? What was the learning curve there? Because, I mean, I remember those days and the setups.
52 channel gambles.
Oh my
God,
goodness.
yeah.
I have no idea what they do
to get to the top of the console. Yeah.
And now we've got digital. And so for people like me, I mean, I've got a mixing board sitting right next to me. I still don't know everything that it does, but I can use it, and I can make things sound good and bad and those types of things. So what was it like for somebody like you to go from analog to digital? What was that learning curve?
When at that Whitney show, when the lights went down, I mean, I saw he had two different soundboards connected together, and all I saw was all these lights lighting up, and a rack of gear, compressors, EQ gates, all that, just lighting up, and it was really intimidating because it was different than radio.
Right.
Radio, we had a board, but it was mainly the music comes in, the vocal comes in, some commercials come in, and you turn up the volume and you turn it on and off. This was like really intimidating at first. So he says, well, if you want to do this as a career, you need education. So I went to a university called Full Sail down in Orlando, and I learned what all that meant. And then my very first gig out of there was working at Dollywood, mixing 14 singers and dancers. So what I loved about analog was, one, it's warmer than digital, in my opinion. I mean, people can disagree about that. But this 52 channel soundboard that looked intimidating, if you understood what one channel did, you understood what all the channels did.
Okay.
So it was a process, right? And then when you understand sound and you know how you want that kick drum to sound, how you want that guitar to sound, how you want that vocal to sound, then you just use the tools that are on the board. Now they got plugins. We got,
Right.
like all this, everything that auto-tune, plug in. We didn't have that back then. We had compression, EQ, reverb, and delay, and maybe a little bit of pitch. So it was analog. I found you really had to know what you were doing. You couldn't hide behind plugins and already pre-made settings. Everything you did, you manually had to turn. But also I found that it really let you really enjoy the music and not get caught up on all the digital aspect of it, the flying faders, having a scene where everything changes. Like if you wanted the guitar to come up, you physically pushed the guitar up. And if you didn't like the sound of it, you could immediately go, oh, that's too bright. Let me take that down. And you'll appreciate this having a board. I was working at Dollywood, and we had a lot of older people. Majority of the audience, 7 shows a day, was older people. So I had a fake EQ, a spare EQ really, but I had a fake EQ that had all the letters and numbers of where people were seated. So every day people would come up to me and go, "Is it going to be loud? If it's too loud, I can't handle it." And I go, where are you sitting, sir?" "Oh, I'm over there." And I go to the EQ, which, from the sound, I'm not doing anything to the sound, but I pull it down just a notch and go, "Okay, I turned that down for you, sir." And they would walk up to me at the end of the show. I mixed at the same volume every time. Everything was set.
Right.
and they'd be like, that was the best sounding show. Thank you for turning that down. The vocal, I could hear everything. It was great. And so that really is what led me to the tour managing, because tour managing was more of the psychology of how to deal with artists and egos and attitudes than the actual sound part. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's about that. I mean, what you just talked about is about relationships.
Yeah, it's all about
It's about connect. It's
relationships,
about that
everything.
connection, right?
Yeah,
I mean
yeah.
that old guy, who's me now. I mean,
Me
felt
too. Is it
felt
too
felt
loud?
listen, felt listened to, right? I mean, he
Yeah,
felt
felt
heard and respected,
felt hurt.
and yeah, and that's that's part of what we do. I mean,
Yeah,
that's to me that's a big part of what we do. Is
yeah.
we connect with people. We we build relationships. We build connection, and it doesn't take a whole lot, but we have to be mindful of that, and we have to be actively doing that.
And I think with all the toys that we have now, the AI, the everything on the phone, 15 seconds and stuff, I think in business we might be losing some of that, what was back in the day
Yeah.
before all that. It was a handshake. You hopped
Yes.
on a plane, you flew somewhere, you met with somebody, it was a handshake, it was understood like, yeah, you're paying for this service or this product, but I'm going to take care of you. It was a one-on-one relationship in business
Right.
professionalism. And I think we may be losing with all the automation.
Mhm.
And that's kind of how I felt about analog versus digital. I thought we lost some of the quality of the show with all the automation doing everything for us, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree with you on that. Um, Now my ear is not nearly as good. Is obviously not nearly as good as yours, right? I mean, because it just isn't because you I mean you've trained it. You've been in this
I've
in
trained,
there,
yeah, yeah.
and you can tell the difference. You can tell little subtle differences where
Hmm.
me, you know, I may not, but you know exactly what we're looking for, and you can hone in and you can really kind of target that.
Yeah, that was through repetition too. The more shows, I talk about this with public speaking,
Mhm.
going on camera, going on a podcast, the more shows you do, the better you get at it. The same thing with mixing or performing or, open heart surgery. I
Right.
mean, the more you do, you're going to get better at it. You're going to figure out, well, that worked, that didn't work. No offense. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like
exactly,
it's,
exactly.
and it becomes a muscle.
Right.
And that's how sound is now. Like I watch the Grammy performance and I know everything that's going on. I know who's singing, who's not singing. I know
Mhm.
what I don't know the notes they're playing. I don't know the chords they're playing, but I know the feeling that they're putting into it. Like,
Right.
and I get that with people on stage as well.
Right. So let's get back to talking about the whole idea of manifestation
Yes.
and mindset because
Yes.
I think that's to me that's one of the biggest issues that we have in terms of communication is we don't come at it from a um, relationship mindset. We come at it from a uh, fro- from a from a negative mindset, from
Yes.
uh, uh, a scared or a um, not one to mess up mine. So you know what I'm talking
Right.
about. I don't know the word I'm specifically looking for, but we don't come at it from a positive perspective and what could go right. We're always looking at what could go wrong.
Right. Because I think we've been programmed. I talk about
Mhm.
this in my time machine exercise. I think what happens is we go into our subconscious, into the time machine, back to a moment that happened in the past. If it's a fear of public speaking, it was a moment that maybe in the fifth grade, giving a book report, somebody laughed at you.
Right.
Or maybe in the corporate world, you had to get up in front of your boss and all your coworkers and present a PowerPoint. And somebody wasn't paying attention or made a joke or something. And what we do is we bring that into the present. So if we can do that, we can go into the future, visualize exactly what we want. See, this is what your favorite rock stars and pop stars do. They visualize the successful show long before there's a crowd to perform to. We do this in pre-production rehearsals over weeks and months of going over the show over and over. And there's no crowd there. There's not one fan in the room in the soundstage when we're doing that. But it's that repetition and that visualization, what I talk about as the rock star frequency. When you're presenting at the rock star frequency, you don't care what they think. And it's that confidence that allows the audience to really connect and go, wow, that was incredible. So it's
Yeah, that
kind of a reverse psychology, you know?
yeah, that but it's so to me, it's so intuitive, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you again, I come from the sport background, and
Yes.
my
Yes.
audience
I
has
want to
heard me
talk more
say
about
this.
that. I want to hear stories of
But
that.
see, that's the thing. You know, rock stars want to be athletes. Athletes want to be rock stars.
Absolutely.
But I want to make it real clear. I was never an athlete, ever truly an
Yeah.
athlete. I'm just the guy on the sides helping go through. But you know, no team or individual athlete goes into any competition without practicing, right?
Absolutely.
So how much practice goes into let's just say you're going on a worldwide tour. How much practice do bands and rock stars go through? I mean, to put that on.
To put it into perspective, the bigger the tour, the smaller the rehearsal space starts. We go to bigger ones, but the first thing, if a band is learning brand new songs, we rent a very tiny space where it's just literally the band there, maybe a little PA, some in-ears, and that's it. It's a very small room. There's no crowd, there's nothing. Because the first step is they need to learn the music,
Right.
and they need to learn how they click with the music before we involve production, before we bring in sound and lights and moving stages and dancers and video walls and all that. It starts with the core that they know the music, they love the music, they're in a pocket with each other. Then it moves up to, as the tour gets bigger and bigger, you go to bigger rooms, and you bring in sound and lighting and video, and some of them are like really really big tours. They'll just rent an arena for a week or a couple months, especially if you're flying in everything. But I think regardless of the size of the production, how big the artist is, and that's what I love about the working with these artists, is that even if it's a big production, there's always that moment in the show where you feel like they're singing to you in a club.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like they're singing right to you, even if you're in a stadium and can't even see anything but a video wall. And that is strategic. This is rehearsed over and over again. And where they really get their rehearsal is by doing shows. They do a show and they try the set list and they go, nah, that one didn't work. Let's try moving this song. Or, we tried it on the first show, the sound, no, that video doesn't work. Let's try it. So it's just
Yeah.
like I said, repetition.
Right.
The more you do anything, just like with the athletes, right?
Yeah.
Tom Brady throws a pass and it gets intercepted. He doesn't quit.
Right.
He doesn't say that's it. He just goes, well, that didn't work. Let's go to a different play,
Yeah. And
right?
again, let's we can correlate this to a number of different industries, right? Like
Yes.
say, take comedians for example.
Yes.
When they're creating new material,
Yes.
they go out and they do private shows where they take all the electronics,
Yep.
right? And so nobody can record it, and they
Yep.
practice their delivery. They
They're
practice the joke,
practicing. Yep.
and there's somebody taking notes, right?
Yep.
And
And
okay,
they
we're
use
not,
a set list.
yep,
And they go, well, that joke went over here, but it didn't go here. Let's try this.
exactly.
You're always, there's no set. This is how it's done. I'm going on stage and this is my set and this is what I say and that's it, period. It's you have to really read the audience, just like the athletes on the field have to read the opponents and go, well, let's try something different and see how that goes.
And so in communication, we have to do the
Uh-huh.
exact same thing.
Yep.
We have to prepare. We
Yep.
have to practice. We have to know the material. We have to rehearse. We have to read the room.
Yep.
We have to do all those things. So this is when we talk about communication. This isn't, and I keep saying it's not rocket scientist. It's not rocket science until I actually talk to a rocket scientist who talks about communication.
Nice.
That was fascinating conversation, by the way. But understand communication it takes work.
Yeah.
It's nothing worth doing and doing well comes
Yes.
easy. It takes work and it takes practice.
Yep.
So how do you in what you do
Mm-hmm.
work with practice, getting that rock star frequency, working on the mindset? What are some of the techniques that you use?
The first thing we have to do, anyone who's going to go on stage, and when I say stage, I mean even going on video, on social media, going on a podcast, or going on an actual stage, you've got to remove the fear, the self-doubt, and the imposter syndrome. It has to go away. You have to present to where you don't care what the audience thinks, and you're connecting with your subconscious. So the first week of the 5-week program is all about removing these blocks, because you can have the best script in the world, you can have everything memorized, you can have the best audience, but if you don't believe 100% that you deserve to be on that stage, there's a reason why they're paying to see you.
Right.
Because even if they're just watching your video, they're paying with time. They're a client in my mind.
Yes.
And then once we get the self-doubt gone, then we got to replace it with confidence. And confidence just comes in if there's a reason why you started your business. There's a reason why you have this passion to do this in this industry. We've got to uncover what that is, bring that out. And then when you talk about it, you're going to light up and the audience is going to light up. Like when I talk about music, it was my life for so long. I love sports. I'd love to hear stories about sports. And I light up whenever you go, oh yeah, I've been to like so many Super Bowls. And I'm like, oh my God, I want that life, right? Well, this same thing when you're presenting your message, if you're talking about how passionate you are about the business you started and the challenges you overcame, your audience is going to go, I want that. I want to work with that person because they get me. I say this to the clients. How does she know me so well? That's the message that your audience is giving back to you. And that creates that connection, the rockstar frequency of where they feel like they know you, they want to work with you. And it's that reason why we have favorite rock stars and pop stars that we think we know, but we don't really know them.
Exactly.
We know what we see of them. You know what I mean?
Right. And let's just take, oh, I want to come back to the imposter syndrome here in a second, but let's take that piece and a step further. And now, full disclosure, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I don't dislike her, don't hate her. It's just not my thing, right? And
okay,
everybody has their own thing. Everybody has their own thing.
Who's your favorite rock star? You say off the top of your head.
Like right now, I'm stuck on a Toby Keith kick. I know he's passed, but I love his music. I love his sound.
Yeah. Okay, Toby Keith. Yeah.
I like that sound. I'm going back to some of my roots here. I love AC/DC. I love Van Halen. I love the Scorpions.
There you go.
I've actually, I've got grandkids, and when I'm with them, my granddaughter and oldest grandson, every time they see me, they want to hear Thunderstruck, right? And Money Talks. That's those. So they as soon as they see me, can we play Thunderstruck? Can we play Money Talks? Of course we can, but those are the things that I go back to. And again, everybody has their own thing, right? But if you look at the Swifties, I mean, the passion that they have and how quickly they came up, to me it wasn't an accident. To me, it was very deliberate, right?
Very, very, very smart. Mm-hmm. She started performing as a teenager doing state fairs. So this didn't happen overnight. We always say in the music business, it probably in the same in sports, it takes 10 years to create an overnight success. Mm-hmm. And that's real. 10 years of doing the same thing every day. Jerry Seinfeld said comedians, it takes 30 years to create an overnight success. So think about that.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But the passion that the Swifties have for her, mm-hmm. and that following, because they feel that every single song that she sings, everything that comes out of her mouth resonates with those fans.
Because it does. Because she is presenting at an entirely different, that's what I talk about with the rockstar frequency. She is presenting at a different, when she walks out on stage, or any artist that's presenting like that, they do not put the success of their show in the hands of their fans. They may say that, oh, we love the fans. This is the best show. You guys are the best city we've ever had. They may say that, but they know when they go on stage, they're going to have a kick-ass show. Right. If they don't walk out on stage. Right. It's a mindset. Exactly. And because they're presenting at such this high frequency, the audience then has to work. Believe it or not. I know it goes against what everyone's saying, but I believe the audience has to work to match that. And then that's what they do. They bring it up, bring the audience up to that level. We use sound, we use lighting, video, stage movement, dressing, dancers, whatever it is. But the core that I've seen most people connect with is when they go out with an acoustic guitar or they're sitting behind a piano and they just sing from their heart. That's what makes people cry at shows. And that's what I'm talking about.
Yes. And
Yeah.
now I don't go to as many concerts as I used to.
Yeah, me neither.
But those are things that you saw a lot of. Just think I'm a drum guy.
Oh
And
yeah. I love it.
So when I go to concerts or I'm watching the drummer. I think because the guitar guy's great, love it. Vocalist is great, love it. The bass player's great, love it. Keyboard's great, but to me, it's the drums. To me, it's the drums that I mean, you feel it. You feel it in your chest. You feel it in your face, and you could be in the upper rafters and you can feel it, right?
Yes.
And I love the drums, and so that's kind of what I focus on. And when we talk about solos or the acoustic guitar or the guitars, Eddie Van Halen, or
oh my God, Eddie. Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Again, you think he's free forming it, but he's practiced that. The drummers practice it. It's not, but we think as in the audience, we're meant to think that he is truly free forming that. He's in the flow. The next note is just coming to him and he's right. That's not how it works. And that's not how communication works.
Right. There's a balance though. They may be playing the notes, but when he gets that feeling, when a musician gets that feeling, they may be playing the notes, but the audience feels the notes. Like that's it, they're not reading sheet music is what I'm trying to say. Is that's how they're not going like, oh, I missed a note. They just get into that feeling. Sometimes the guitar solo goes on for 5 minutes and they just go off. And like you were saying about the drums, I feel the drums and bass are the foundation of the mix. If you took the kick drum and the bass out of the mix, the audience doesn't know what happened. Right. It's the foundation. And that in public speaking, I believe that's your why. That's the foundation of why you're speaking in the first place. So you've got to have a very firm foundation. If you take the drums and bass out of the mix, you've got guitar and keyboards. You lose that momentum from the crowd. Yeah. And drummers run the band, believe it or not. They keep the band on time.
Yes.
I love when we didn't have click track. Oh my God. Now everyone's on click track and everything's dialed into their ears. Back then they didn't have click track. The drummer just counted off and away we go. And if it was too fast or too slow, no one in the audience cared.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm a guy that likes. I like to have fun. I don't take myself very seriously. I take what I do seriously. I like to have fun. Yeah. And I know I'm going to get some hate from some of my listeners. One of my favorite movies is The Rocker.
It's a what? I'm sorry.
It's called The Rocker. With Rainn Wilson. The Rocker. Yeah, he plays a drummer. I
gotta write that down. I'm gonna look that up. The Rocker. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up. Yeah, go
ahead.
It's got
Christina Applegate in it. Rainn Wilson. It's funny. It's anyway, but it's about a drummer who got kicked out of a band, wasted his whole life because he got kicked out of a band, then started a new band. Anyway, but it's funny and I love it. But let's get back to imposter syndrome because gee, I could go down this track, go down this hole, and we get way off track. But when you talk about imposter syndrome, and the things that we clog our mind with, right? With the fear of speaking, the fear of talking to people, getting on stage, whatever it is, there are so many things that go into that, and we really need to hone in on whoever it is that we're working with individually and figure out what that is, right? When you get hired for a job, and I say this a lot, they don't hire you to make fun of you. Right. They hired you because you've got knowledge, skills, and abilities, and they want you to come in and add value to the organization. So when you're in a team meeting and you're asked to give a report on whatever project you're doing, they didn't call you up. They didn't hire you with some grand, elaborate plan to bring you into a team meeting and make fun of you. It just doesn't happen. They want you to add value. Yep. And the reality is, I don't think that the majority of people are caring about what you're wearing, what you look like anyway. They're worried about other people worrying about them.
Right.
You just share your knowledge,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's the most ironic thing is if you're giving a presentation or you're going on video or on a podcast and someone's making a comment about it or laughing at you or whatever, that to me is their biggest insecurity.
Yeah.
They're the one that's insecure that can't do what you're doing. That's why they feel that need to put somebody down, because 90% of the people in the room will not get up in front of the audience and present like you are. The real professionals, I said this off camera to you, I think, the ego to talent ratio.
Yeah.
The higher the ego, the lower the talent. The higher the talent, the lower the ego. The people that are professional, that understand that you standing up there and presenting in front of this audience is probably the most nerve-wracking, probably the most there's so much going on, but it also shows that you have confidence and you are taking action. Those are the people that are not going to laugh at you, that are not going to put you down. It's the ones that are too insecure to get up there in the first place.
Yes.
We had this with bands. They get a bad review. And I'm like, this music critic is pissed off. He can't be a guitar player in a band. That's why he's putting down every band. Forget it. Your fans love you. Go out there, kick ass on stage. Forget about what the music critic said.
Be you.
That's one person's opinion.
Be you.
You know? And be you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, So we need to help people get over that, and I think the quicker that we get over that, help them get over that, the quicker we're going to see improvements, the quicker we're going to see success. And again, I go back to the whole idea that it's not overnight, and it takes work.
No.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah,
It takes work. It takes work. It takes refinement, and it's never going to be perfect.
No, that's the point.
Right.
It never is.
It never is.
In sports, they never have a perfect game.
Never.
Ever. I'm sure there's something one person on the team wants to do different, even if they had a 50-0 game. They're like, well, I screwed that up.
Well,
but
even
when you don't
take bowling. Take bowling as an example, where you can.
Oh my God, yes.
Where you can bowl a perfect game.
Oh, okay, yes, interesting.
But that doesn't mean you were perfect.
Right.
Okay, that means your score was perfect.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that you were perfect. That doesn't mean your delivery was perfect. That doesn't mean your technique was perfect. So let it go.
Take away this perception of perfection, because it doesn't exist. Go on stage, go bowling, go on the football field or baseball diamond, have fun, have a blast doing what you do, and you love what you do. And so what? If you strike out, then you learn something from it. You try again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to do it over and over again. Repetition.
Always. And they spend more time practicing off the field than people ever see. And that's the same thing, I think, with public speaking. More people that make it look natural, like, oh, wow, that person just is talking from their heart. Yes, they are. But they spend a lot of time off stage, just like your favorite rock stars, pop stars. They spend more time in rehearsal than they ever do on stage.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No. So that's the key. Yeah.
If you could give advice, and what are two pieces of advice that you would give to somebody that they could put into action today to be better?
My first one, and it'll sound kind of general, and people are like, okay, but you really have to stop caring what anybody thinks. If you're doing what you love, you're talking about your story, you're sharing what this is who you are, right, and you're not putting other people down, you're not doing anything to cause harm to anybody else. Like, I'm not a fan of that. I'm saying, then, you just got to stop caring what people think. And number two is you've got to get to the root of why you're presenting to people in the first place. Why? What's the root of it? Oh, I get paid to go on stage. No. We get paid to perform in front. No, that's not the why. What's the why? Because 25 years ago, when I was sitting there and watching this person perform, I had this moment, whatever the story. Mine is the Whitney story. The Whitney story is my why. I decided that this is what I'm going to do with my life. And nobody was going to say no, and no one was going to stop me. So if the two is, forget about what people think and really embrace your why and share that story. And don't be afraid of what people say or think.
That's awesome. Awesome
Yeah, man.
advice. And
Yeah,
I
thanks.
and I do think that if we can start there, how
Yeah.
much better we can be, right? Right.
We have to support each other and
We
stop
do.
putting each other down too.
Yep.
I think that's a generational thing. I don't think the bullying back in when I was growing up was one
Yeah.
or two people, but now with the technology, the bullying goes globally and is inundated 24/7. I think we need to do something to start helping people, encourage
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, because I know that it's hard, and I'm the person that I've never really cared
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
I've never really cared about what other people say or think about me out now. Let me qualify outside of my inner circle, right?
Right. The
Outside
inner
of my,
circle. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because those people are going to be truthful and honest with you. They're going to tell you when you're good. They're going to tell you when you're
Yep.
bad. They're going to tell you when you're
Yep.
being a jerk, or whatever it is, and
Yep.
you should listen to your inner circle.
Yes.
So, but I don't really care because I'm just going to be me, and just because you may not know me, you don't understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to change the way I do things based on that.
To please you. Exactly.
Exactly, and just drive on and go on from there. All right, I got a question for you because I'm hoping
Sure.
you're gonna have hoping you're gonna have a good answer for me on this one.
Okay.
So, what I try and teach people is, when you're getting ready to go up, for whatever it is, whatever meeting, job interview,
Mm-hmm.
on the stage, what have you, just like in baseball, you got to have a walk up song, and I've got three of them.
Yes.
I've got three of them
Yes.
depending on what I'm doing. Um,
Yes.
they are in no particular order. I don't know if have ever heard of this band. It's called Gunner and the Grizzly Boys. Gunner and the Grizzly Boys are out of they're
Okay. Okay.
they're out of Michigan. They're
Okay.
they're oh man, they're great. They're um, country rock,
Okay.
and the song is Standard American.
Okay.
The other one is, I know you've heard of them, Low Cash. I Love This Life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the third one, I know you've heard of this guy. It's Colt Ford and Crank It Up.
Oh yeah.
All
Yeah.
of them are powerful.
Yep.
Get them going. And whether I'm going out on stage and I request this playing, or I have it playing in my head, and 99% of the time it's in my head, getting myself ready to go.
Yep.
Ready to come out and be me.
Yes.
Deliver that. Deliver it with
You're-
enthusiasm. Deliver it with
Yes.
whatever. What about you? Do you have
Yes.
a walk-up song?
I
or
have a
multiple?
song in my head all the time. That's
Okay.
that gets annoying. I have a soundtrack going. That's why when I talk in certain verses and choruses and things, but the song that always pumps me up and is my walkout song, and what I do even a public speaking event based around this song is
Oh yeah. Queen.
and Queen, We
Uh-huh.
Will Rock You.
Uh-huh.
Or AC/DC, like, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
Tears for Fears, like, I mean, just, but Queen does it. I do that in my head every time
Right.
before I go on camera.
Right.
And that is like, I've got that in the background and it sets the tone.
Yes.
Because that's the message. We will rock you.
Right.
I'm gonna rock you, right? That's how, yeah.
And it goes back to one of the very first things we talk about is mindset.
Yes,
Right.
it puts you immediately into that's
Right.
what I talk about with
Mhm.
when you're in that mindset, nothing can take you out of it.
Exactly. Well, gee, this has been great. Where can people find you to work with you?
On LinkedIn. I have a pretty good sized network on LinkedIn. I'm also on IG at G Wright Coaching, and my website is gwrightcoach.com. The best is just to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
And, yeah, I'm really excited. I've got the 5-week Rockstar Speakers Program. I only work with 5 people at a time, so it's one-on-one coaching. It's very hands-on. It's very much like they're just going to get to the root of it, and you're going to feel like a rock star every time you go on stage, on camera, or on a podcast like today. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'll make sure I put all those links in the show notes for everybody. But G, thank you so much for sharing with the Speaking with Confidence community today. It's been awesome. I love your message. I love your background.
Thanks,
It's one of those things that touches me. I mean, you know what I'm talking about there.
Yeah. I know. We're on the same frequency. I know.
And I love that. It's great when you can connect with people on that level. And I've shared this some on this podcast, but a lot of times when I'm guesting on other podcasts, that's one of the things I love about podcasting is the people that you're meeting and the connections that you're building. And when I talk about, uh, building relationships,
Mm,
this is part of it because,
yeah.
without this, you and I probably would have never met. Right.
Yeah.
And
I'm glad we
now,
did meet because
now,
this is one of the best conversations. This was so much fun.
and so
Yeah.
it comes from stepping outside of the comfort zone,
Yes.
reaching out, and
Yes.
just doing the thing. Come on, guys, just do it. Right.
Just do it.
Right,
We
bud.
will rock you.
All right, G, you take care of
Yeah.
yourself again. Thanks so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tim. Ciao.
Be sure to visit speakingwithconfidencepodcast.com to download your free ebook, Top 21 Challenges for Public Speakers, and learn how to overcome them. You can also register for the Forming for Public Speaking course while you're there. Always remember that your voice has the power to change the world. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. I hope you enjoyed the latest episode of Speaking with Confidence. Give us a review to tell everyone why you love the podcast. You can also download, like, and share the podcast with friends. Be sure to visit formingforpublicspeaking.com and sign up for the Forming for Public Speaking course. It's a step-by-step system to help you become the confident and powerful speaker you've always wanted to be. We'll see you next time. Take care.